The ancient world wasn't straight, but it wasn't gay either. It was running on a completely different operating system, one where the labels we fight over today hadn't been written yet. Most ancient societies didn't sort people into straight, gay, bi, and trans. They sorted them into citizen and foreigner, free and enslaved, man and woman, respectable and shameful. Who you desired mattered, but who did what to whom and where each person ranked usually mattered a whole lot more. So the moment someone says, this ancient civilization accepted queer relationships, ask the obvious follow-up. Accepted which one? Between two grown citizens? Between a rich man and an enslaved person who legally couldn't refuse? Between women? Between a king and his favorite? Was it celebrated, tolerated, mocked, or just quietly ignored? The answer can flip halfway through the question. Let's go find it. Greece is everyone's default winner. Male lovers, homoerotic pottery, Sappho, philosophy seminars that doubled as wine parties. Squint and it looks like a rainbow utopia with great columns. Then you read the fine print. Greeks generally didn't treat desire as a fixed identity stamped on your soul. A man could want women or men without being permanently categorized. Same-sex attraction wasn't unspeakable. It could be called beautiful, even noble. But acceptance came bundled with rules about age, status, and role. The best documented pattern was an adult male citizen pursuing an adolescent boy, framed ideally as mentorship as much as sex. And ideally as doing enormous work there, because nearly every source was written by elite men flattering elite men. Even in Athens, a citizen had to guard his masculinity like a vault. Desiring men, fine. Being seen as the passive one, that could get you ridiculed and politically destroyed. The real question was never, was your partner a man? It was, did this make you look like someone subordinate? Plato's Symposium captures it. Aristophanes tells the myth that humans were once double beings, split apart, each half hunting for its lost other, some pairs male-male, some female-female. It sounds shockingly modern. Then Plato keeps going, and it's clearly philosophy and theater, not a marriage bill. Greece wasn't one policy either. Thebes fielded the sacred band, an elite unit traditionally described as 150 pairs of male lovers, on the theory that men fight like demons beside someone whose respect they can't lose. And Sappho, on Lesbos around 600 BCE, poured desire for women into her verse, giving us the words sapphic and lesbian, while her actual life mostly vanished because men controlled the writing. So did Greece accept queer relationships? Some, absolutely. All, absolutely not. It didn't ask you to be straight. It asked you to obey the architecture. Rome inherited Greece's possibilities and made them extra Roman. For a freeborn man, masculinity meant control. What defined him wasn't the sex of his partner so much as whether he stayed on top, active and dominant. He could sleep with women or men without becoming a different kind of person. The moral panic wasn't, he likes men. It was, he looked passive. Rome cared less about your orientation than your position on the org chart, which made that freedom grotesquely unequal. An enslaved person's body was legally exposed to their owner. Calling that acceptance turns domination into romance. Emperors could bend the rules because emperors had the very useful status of being emperor. When Hadrian's young companion Antinous drowned in the Nile, the emperor's grief detonated into statues, a cult, and a city named for him. Public mourning on an imperial scale. But it wasn't a marriage of equals. We barely hear Antinous' voice at all. And when hostile biographers described Nero holding male weddings, they were often weaponizing scandal to paint unpopular rulers as monsters. Rome could depict, joke about, and tolerate male sex under strict conditions, but it never built equal recognition, and late Roman law turned increasingly hostile. Head east and the categories rearrange. Ancient China left a rich vocabulary for male love. The passion of the cut sleeve comes from Emperor Ai, whose favorite fell asleep across his sleeve, so rather than wake him, the emperor cut the fabric away. Possibly the gentlest solution to a scheduling conflict in history. A civilization doesn't invent poetic euphemisms for something it refuses to acknowledge. Han histories record emperors with male favorites alongside wives and heirs. Male intimacy didn't have to mean an exclusive identity, and criticism usually targeted favoritism and corruption. The scandal was less, he loves a man, and more, he gave his boyfriend a promotion. Uncomfortably relatable. But family duty was iron. Producing heirs and honoring ancestors pressured every man to marry a woman. The sleeve was accepted. The family tree stayed mandatory. India scrambles the map further. Its myths are full of merged genders and shifting sex. Ardhanarishvara fuses Shiva and Parvati into one half-male, half-female body. And the Kama Sutra pays direct attention to people of a third nature, discussing desire and sex between men as simply part of human variation, but described isn't equal. Other legal and religious texts prescribed fines or penances for various non-procreative acts, varying by status and gender. Some were mild, but mild penalties are still penalties. Across a whole subcontinent and many centuries, the honest red is narrower. Gender and sexual diversity were recognized, but recognition often came with stereotyping and marginal status rather than equal citizenship. Go back further, and around the goddess Inanna, later Ishtar, you find cultic figures who crossed ordinary gender lines, discussed under names like Gala and Asinu. Our modern labels fit them badly. What the evidence shows is that Mesopotamians could attach religious meaning to gender crossing roles. Difference could be sacred. It could also be a weapon. Assyrian laws punished men for accusing each other of being penetrated, because sex was being used to rearrange the male pecking order. No paradise, but not unthinkable either. Egypt is the most visually tempting case and the least conclusive. In a tomb at Saqqara, two royal manicurists, Neankunum and Khnumhotep, are shown embracing nose-to-nose, a pose usually reserved for intimacy. Modern viewers crown them history's first gay couple, but they might have been brothers, even twins, and both appear with wives and children. No caption confirms it. The image deserves attention, it just doesn't deliver certainty. So which civilizations accepted queer relationships? Greece idealized certain male bonds when they obeyed the script of age and status. Rome tolerated same-sex activity for powerful men as long as dominance stayed intact. Han China turned male favorites into poetry while demanding heirs. India recognized third-nature people with rules that rarely meant equality. Mesopotamia made gender crossing sacred in one room and dangerous in the next. Egypt left images we still can't fully read. If the contest is visibility, Greece and Han China are strong. If it's gender diversity, India and Mesopotamia matter. If it's equal marriage, autonomy, and protection from coercion regardless of gender, nobody wins. The ancient world never built that place. Acceptance flowed downhill from power. That might be the most ancient feature of all. But the evidence still demolishes the fantasy that queer existence is new. Ancient people wrote poems, cut sleeves, raised statues, formed bonds, broke rules, and argued endlessly about what bodies were allowed to mean. Some found admiration, some found sacred roles, others vanished because no historian thought their happiness worth recording. So the most honest answer isn't a tidy list of the tolerant and the intolerant, it's a map of conditional doors. Each civilization opened one and locked the rest. They accepted queer relationships whenever those relationships fit inside the existing machinery of power, family, and religion, and the moment they threatened it, acceptance snapped shut. The ancient world never needed us to teach it that desire is diverse. It already knew. What it hadn't figured out, what a lot of the world is still figuring out, is how to separate difference from hierarchy. Queer people were there. Acceptance was conditional. Love was ancient. Equality was the unfinished invention.